Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order on February 11th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Counselor Beachide,
Here.
Counselor Berggren,
Here.
Counselor Martin,
Here.
Counselor Stancliffe,
Here.
Counselor Fraser will be late, I hear. Okay. And Mayor Palmer?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag, United States of America. Republic. One nation. Okay, item 2 is public hearing, council considerations.
I'm so sorry, council. Did we call to order the joint meeting of both the city council and the local contract review board?
Yeah, and Carrie, just one moment for me.
Okay.
Order the joint meeting of Gold Hill City Council and local contract review board. The city did not receive a request for a hearing on the proposed rules, so one will not be held tonight. However, as usual, we will now take public comment on agenda items listed to this joint meeting.
So, Mr. Mayor, as is our custom, we actually do public input once in a meeting, and it's usually before council consideration of items instead of having the public comment on individual issues. So right now, since this is a joint meeting of the city council and the local contract review board, this would be public comment just on ordinance number 25-01, resolution 25R7 and 25R8 only. We will have another public comment section in our normal city council portion later in the meeting. Is there any public comment? There's none.
So do I move?
So we're moving on to ordinance 25-01. 25-01 only.
Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to ordinance 25-01. This is allowing adoption for public contracting rules by resolution. Repealing City Municipal Code 2.08 Contract Review Board and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Mayor, at this time, as part of the staff report, we reviewed ordinance number 25-01 in our workshop a couple weeks ago. And if somebody, we had also published the ordinance in a statewide publication as well as the Rogue River Press, announcing that there would be a public hearing if somebody requested it. We did not have any requests, so we are able to treat this ordinance just like any other ordinance. And so with that, this ordinance has also been published and available on our website and to the public and to the council for over 7 days. So it meets the qualifications of our charter that it can be read by title only for first reading and second reading, and have those both happen in one night. If we had not met that 7-day posting, we would have to read it in full. And based on the feedback I got from the council at the last one, that we are having, the thing that was added is declaring the emergency. So once it passes, it will be in effect. And part of that was we don't do emergencies lightly, but due to a new charter that only became in effect January 1st. Since 1968, that doesn't happen every day. And we had an election where we had a mayor and 3 city council positions up for election, so it's a new council as well. So did not present the information before the new council was sworn in. But we also are now left with no purchase authority until this is done. So to review what this is doing. The last time the contract review board updated contracting rules for the Gold Hill Municipal Code was back in 1980. And since then, a lot of things have changed in state law. In 2005, the Attorney General's office passed a statewide purchasing, and the city was supposed to update our purchasing rules, and we never did. So we're 20 years behind, so we're getting caught up tonight.
Hmm.
And at the start of it is that we are amending the Gold Hill Municipal Code. So I'm just going to highlight the now therefore section. Section 1 is that section or title 2.08 of the Gold Hill Municipal Code and any other previously adopted ordinances, resolutions, and enactments that have to do with public contracting rules are repealed. And so since those previous ones will be repealed, we're now going to section 2, and you guys are authorizing that the public contracting rules and staff purchasing and contracting authority will from hereafter be adopted by council resolution.
Mhm.
And we have declared the emergency due to the provisions so that it'll be effective upon passage. And so that's what's all this ordinance is that we're repealing previous rules, that we're authorizing that the contracting rules and purchasing authorities will be adopted by resolution from here on out. And for this ordinance, it will be an emergency and effective upon passage. And so at that, I'll move it back to you, Mr. Mayor, that we can have a motion to read ordinance 25-01. First reading by title only would be what we're looking for. And after that, it also, if any council has any questions, we want to make sure we allow for that.
All right, at this time, council, do you have any questions? And if not, I would like to, I would entertain at this time a motion.
Do a first reading on ordinance 25-01.
By
Yes.
title only.
Then I would make a motion to do the first reading on ordinance. 25-01. I told it title only.
All right,
It's so louder.
yes.
Thank you, Counselor Martin.
Any other questions from the councilors? Roll call.
Counselor Beachai,
Yes.
Counselor Berggren,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Frazier,
Yes.
Counselor Stancliff.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right.
Ordinance number 25-01, an ordinance allowing for adoption of public contracting by rules by resolution and repealing City Municipal Code 2.08, Contract Review Board, and declaring an emergency.
Now you need a motion to pass it?
Nope, to read it second reading
Oh.
by title.
I'll make a motion for a second reading of ordinance number 25-01 by title only.
Second that?
Questions? All right, I have a motion and I have a second. Roll call.
Counselor Beachai,
Yes.
Counselor Berggren,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Frazier,
Yes.
Counselor Stancliff.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance number 25-01, an ordinance allowing for adoption of public contracting rules by resolution and repealing City Municipal Code 2.08, Contract Review Board, and declaring an emergency. So now we can have a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I make a motion to adopt the ordinance number 25-01.
Second.
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion and I have a second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Beechide,
Yes.
Counselor Berggren,
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Frazier,
Yes.
Counselor Stancliff,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, so the ordinance is adopted and we will move on. The next staff report, Mr. Mayor, when you go to that point, will be an action by both the Contract Review Board and the council. And I will turn it over to our attorney. Carrie Connolly is online with us. And I will turn it over to her.
Good evening. Thanks so much for having me. So I just, by way of introduction, first off, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm Carrie Connolly. I'm the senior partner at Local Government Law Group. We are your city attorney. I believe you've worked most closely with Lori Cooper. And Lori also has considerable experience with public contracting rules, but I am the one that wrote them and modified them from the AG's versions and drafted all of the documents that you see in front of you. I understand this is very daunting. You have pages 4 through 113 of the materials associated with new public contracting rules. I'm not going to go through those page at a time. I actually only have until 6:29, and then I have to jump into a different city council meeting. But I'm here to answer your questions, and the high-level review is simply that this joint resolution of your council and your local contract review board adopts both findings that are required to support the exemptions that are set out in the last section of the rules. So the very last pages, like 110 through 113, or maybe a couple more, are your exemptions. That's what that Exhibit A is for. It's making findings that are legally required to support those exemptions. The rest of the rules, divisions 46, 47, 48, and 49, they use the same numbers as the AG model rules. We've taken out provisions that apply only to the state. We've also simplified certain rules if they were overly complicated in a way that's not required by state law. So you have your public contracting code that's in statute, and then you have these rules that implement statute. And if the statute said do something and the rule had you do a whole bunch of other things, we took that out just so you were only doing what's required by statute in an effort to streamline what does end up to be, 110 pages or so. They govern, so just for those of you who are new, public contracting is the city's purchase of goods and services. It is the way that you build anything or repair anything, structures. It also governs personal services like a contract with my office or a contract with architects and engineers are dealt with slightly differently, and they have their own division, Division 48. So those are the kinds of contracts that are governed by the rules that are in front of you. And I'm happy to answer questions now that I've given you that really high level overview.
Okay, is there any questions at this time? Counselors?
This is only on the rules. This isn't on the amounts yet, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So just thanks, that actually gives me a good distinction. So this is how you procure contracts. It tells you the steps you have to go through before you authorize or your city manager can sign a contract. The last resolution, which is going to be council only, is the spending thresholds. This is just procurement procedures.
Thank you.
Meant to have the resolution there.
Do you need a reading of that resolution?
All it takes is a motion. And the motion, I believe, it might be in your materials. I can read it out loud. I can read an example motion out loud if that would help. Because what I want to make sure is we fold in both the council and the local contract review board.
Okay, so I move to adopt resolutions number 25-R-07 on behalf of the Gold Hill City Council and the city's local contract review board.
That's the right motion. Can you pass it to someone next to you for them to make it?
I said mo.
I move to adopt resolution number 25-R-07 on behalf of the Gold Hill City Council and the city's local contract review board.
Second.
Carrie, I have one question for you. When the vote, do they have to vote separately or are they voting with both hats?
They can, I would do a roll call vote and just each member understand you are a council and local contract review board. You only need to vote once.
Okay.
So council, you actually, per our code, before the ordinance was adopted, you are also the city's contract review board. So we are having a joint meeting of both. So you're actually voting in both capacity as the steward of how contracts are reviewed for the city and as the elected city council. After tonight, the council will do this solely. We won't have a contract review board. You guys will be that function as the city council alone. But for this resolution, you're voting in both capacities. I know that doesn't really make any difference because ultimately you're responsible as the council, but just realize we are doing it in both capacities tonight. And so if you decide to pass the resolution, the mayor and I actually sign it twice, wearing both of our hats.
But we only have to vote once.
You only, yes, and I just wanted to make sure that we're not doing two separate roll calls.
Now, everybody understands that, right? Okay. So roll call, please.
Counselor Beechide,
Yes.
Counselor Berggren,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Frazier,
Yes.
Counselor Stancliff,
Yes.
motion carries.
Congratulations.
On this next agenda item, I did want to point out that I think the adoption date still references February 4th. So let's just make sure that we're all on the same page, that it is February 11th.
And my apologies, in the packet it says the 4th, but what I printed out for the mayor to sign says the 11th.
Perfect.
That's what happens when you have a snow day.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and so this, now before, our mayor, are we allowed to move on?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so now we will be on resolution 25-R-8, which is a resolution establishing purchasing authority and spending limits for the city of Gold Hill staff. And it is on page 114 of your packet. If you look in the bottom right corner, it's a two-sided packet printed for you. And page 114 is where we go on this one. I'm going to pull it up in TV land. So once we do have that here, and basically it's saying now that you've adopted resolution 25-R-7 that gives the rules, now you're going to establish what those procurement limits and what emergency is defined as and such. So it gives the city manager's authority. And essentially, last time we saw this council, remember they were highlighted numbers. And so I took the highlights off. We didn't change the numbers because there was not consensus on what they should be. Now, council members, remember you had questions and I emailed those to the attorney and I forwarded her answers to you all based on all the questions we gathered in the workshop. Carrie is here for another 3 minutes in case you have any more questions. But to be clear, the city manager can designate staff to sign on my behalf. So my authority extends to them when they're acting under my direction, not independently of me. The last portion was actually if I were to contract with a city employee. But I'm looking at this and I'm wondering if we actually took that portion out. It looks like, oh no, it's there, contracts with employees. So we renumbered it And that would be if, say, the employee is the only one that could sell that thing. It's make sure that we're ethical in how that process would work if I was to purchase something from an employee. But the amounts were consistent with the limits in the different categories. So in an emergency, I could spend up to $250,000 or sign that contract on my own in an emergency, but that's when the mayor has declared an emergency. It's not just an emergency. It has to have been declared by the mayor. Otherwise, the limits for the city manager would be $100,000. Anything above that amount would have to come to the council. And one other thing that could happen is, say we had a specific circumstance. So say we have Senate Bill 1530 money that we got last year. We could bring a resolution forward and say, and you guys could say, we're authorizing the city manager to handle this funding entirely at no limit or whatever it is, because it's already gone through us. You can authorize individual circumstances, but without bringing, the council would have to specifically on those things, give me the authority to go outside of this resolution for those specific purchasing authorities. And we would have an individual resolution of that. So there's something in paperwork that you guys authorize me to do that. Anything else before?
Is there a safety mechanism to keep it from saying 999? Under 100,000 that happens in multiple successions so that you wouldn't have to ask us. You understand what I'm saying?
So well, hopefully soon, we will have our financial system up and current. The 23-24 year was submitted to the auditors this week. But when we're giving you regular reports, you can see what the spending is. You'll be able to see that. But really, it's on the integrity of the city manager and you guys as my boss to make sure I'm following the law. If I'm not, you fire me. Literally. So, I mean, but I don't have the authority to sign for over $100,000. I don't have the authority to spend over that. So I would have to bring it back to the council.
Well, what I'm saying is that if there was a situation where you could have multiple purchases under $100,000, going up to like $1 million, is there a safety thing other than the monthly finances that we would be able to know that? I've just seen some.
That's what she was just saying.
Okay, that's
Everything has to come to the council anyway.
So the safeguard is, I mean, well, I'll give you an example. Pretty soon, we're going to go out to, go ahead, Carrie.
I'm just so sorry. I'm gonna have to sign off.
Okay.
But what I was going to say is if there's a contract that there are multiple amendments to it, if the second that that one contract hits the $100,000 limit based on the multiple different amendments, that would need to come to the council. So hopefully that is the check that you're looking for. If there are a ton of different contracts with different contractors, this will be authorizing your city manager to enter into those, but they would all need to be for different items with different contractors. And the second that they merge, the totals of each are combined, and that might catapult her into or over the threshold, at which point it would come to you. So I am going to sign off. Thank you so much. Please gather any questions, any follow-up questions you might have, and I can answer those after the meeting potentially, or maybe even during the meeting. I just need to tune in elsewhere.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
So, I mean, really, I don't have the authority. I will not have the authority to sign for over $100,000. So shy of you guys giving me that authority, for me to do it is a violation of my contract with the city. It would be grounds for termination or discipline. It would be the accountability is my job.
Mhm.
So, but I'll give you an example. We did get that Senate Bill 1530 money, and we're about to go to bid on the water line replacement. And it is substantially higher than the $100,000. So what that means is when that goes out to bid and the council will award that bid, what I would recommend is when you award that bid, you've picked the winning person. But at that point, you can authorize me to sign and do the contracts up to what that bid amount is, so I can then handle that amount, no matter what it is. Because you've picked the contract, and instead of you signing every portion of it up to that amount, because it's over the 100,000, you can authorize me to handle it, but you guys approved the amount up front, if that makes sense. So when we bring the paperwork to say we're gonna award the bid and say it's $100,001, I know it's not that amount, I'm just saying, say it were, you guys say, okay, we're authorizing this project and we're authorizing the manager to make sure it's carried out appropriately at the amount of the bid that we've approved. And so that amount may be higher than this purchase limit, but you're authorizing me in that one situation to go above it. And all that stuff would come back. Otherwise, every portion of that purchasing will have to come back to you guys. Well, it's technically, once you've approved it, I have the authority to kind of see it through, but the mayor would have to sign all the contracts and all the portions of it on behalf of the council.
So understand, I'm not necessarily looking at this council and this manager. I'm looking at a situation where I need this, I want to do this project, so I'm gonna make a bunch of contracts for $99,000. That's what I'm asking, to make sure we have checks and balances for that.
The checks and balances is how she explained it. However, all those checks that are written for that 99.999 have to be checks and signed by either myself, the president of the council, or whoever's on the check writing. They have to sign that check. And guess what? It's going to be questions. So nothing can go through it. There's one person on that staff, and there's two people that are on the council and the mayor that sign these checks, and everything is questioned.
So that's the resolution, that was the signing authority that was passed in the first meeting of the year. And what we changed and implemented a year ago, and we re-upped it this year, is that when checks are signed, that they're signed by the mayor primary. If the mayor's unavailable, the council president signs. And so there's someone from the elected side.
Mhm.
And then there's somebody from the staff side. So the city manager, recorder, and then my designee, in this case, it's the city clerk. That's the backup. So there'll be, right now, the mayor and I are the primary signers. And if he's unavailable, the council president signs. If I'm unavailable, the city clerk signs. But that way, there's somebody from both sides of the house. Now, ultimately, at some point, we are looking at some bills paying electronically. And what we can make sure that we do is say that anything over this amount, we have to have some kind of format to have both sides accountable in that. But it still would have to go through the council, or that we just can't do electronic payment over the purchasing limits of the city manager is potentially what we could say, so that we can't do anything above that amount. I do have the authority right now to transfer between our local government investment pool, which is our savings account, and our checking account in any amount. And I will tell you that based on what the council passed, I have transferred $149,000 to Rogue Valley Sewer, or $146,000 to Rogue Valley Sewer Service, because that was part of the annexation agreement that was signed by the council before me. So at that time, that was already previously approved by the council, and I carried it out. And that was an electronic payment. So I hope by now you guys know that I'm pretty transparent. Good or bad, you're going to see us talk about it in this room, and we're going to keep working on fixing it. But the check policy right now has someone from both sides of the house. And I tell you, he questions bills when he signs them. As the mayor, he does that. And before we move into paying electronically, we will make sure there's a policy in place and a checks and balances for that as well.
Thank you. Excellent answer.
And I do understand what you're saying, Counselor, as far as, I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead. Obviously, you're looking down the road. We have another city manager, that we have all of our ordinances in order and resolutions in order, and it safeguards the town. That's what we're doing. That's what we're building on. We're restructuring everything. So that is what's going on now. That all this is in order for when the next God forbid. But anyway, Joe,
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I heard Joe say last year it's a rolling 5-year contract. Every day it's another 5 years.
every council meeting,
The only thing I have a question on is on C. That recommends that the city council approve or disapprove contract awards.
change
I
orders.
think I just, never mind. I answered my own question when I read it thoroughly.
You missed the change orders, didn't
I
you?
did.
I had to read that one twice.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Lily, you have any more?
Yeah, I do want to bring up one thing. There were some questions brought up about, should we review it every year, or if there's a city manager change? Legal counsel recommended against it, because you have to remember to do it. And if you don't do it, then are you outside a policy? And so, from time to time, we may just want to review it and see where the levels are, but she had not recommended that we necessarily do that. I don't know if you guys remember the answers to the questions that were sent out, if you saw that email.
I do have one more question. Looking back at C now. It says recommends that the city council approve or disapprove contract awards and change orders and amendments in amounts over 100,000. Can we drop that amount to 50,000 because $100,000 change order on a $300,000 contract?
No, she answered that.
Okay.
That it's over, anything that hits that $100,000 mark forces it back to the council.
Mhm.
So the fact that it started at 300,000, any change orders have to come back.
I'm just looking at the change order amount from 100 to 50, lowering it.
Well, that's actually, that's council's ruling. So what's the council feel about that?
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I would go with what the lawyer said.
Rick,
Dan.
Frazier?
I think it would slow the process at this point to make that change. I think 100,000 is acceptable.
Okay. All right, it's as stand then. We're not even gonna, okay. So Lily, you want a motion on this to adopt this?
Yes, that's what we would be
Okay.
looking for as a
As
motion.
this,
And just to clarify, the only thing that was a joint vote of both bodies was Resolution 7.
yes.
Resolution 8 is just the council, just for clarification.
So at this time, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 25R08.
I'll second that.
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion and I have a second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Beachhead,
Yes.
Counselor Berggren,
No.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Frazier,
Yes.
Counselor Stancliff.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Adjourn the joint meeting. There you go. It's not the total meeting.
No, I'm gonna adjourn the joint meeting and then we are gonna have a call to order for the regular council meeting. Okay, we are ready. We don't need a roll call. I guess we are going down here. Any agenda adjustments? No. Public input.
One
Okay.
person on the list, Tam Wilkinson.
I forgot.
Pull that closer so it's right in your mouth. Okay.
I'll lean for it. Because I don't want to break it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Tam Wilkinson. I live at 2130 Lampman Road in Gold Hill. I'm Chair of Can Do Gold Hill, and we have some events that we would like to ask permission to have in downtown as well as the sports park and library park. And if I could. These events are going up through July. We have other events that will be later in the year. But we want to try and get a jump start on marketing of these events. And we just kind of have to go through the process because we have to get a budget and that. The dates that we're looking at, are May 10th, Yard in the Hill, which is the community yard sale. May 17th for citywide cleanup. June 7th for Gold Dust Days and July 4th for the July 4th of July barbecue. We also wanted to check as far as the partnership with the citywide cleanup. Just throwing that proposal out each year, Fire District 3 in the city as well as Can Do has sponsored bins basically for citizens to bring in their refuse. So I'm throwing that out there for review for later in this year. But these are the dates that we're asking for permission to hold these events in city property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, council, I made a mistake. I got a backup one on announcements, correspondence, and awards and proclamations. This is the day, 130 years celebration that Gold Hill has been a city. And we have a proclamation, and I'm going to read it to you. A proclamation recognizing the 130th year since the corporate incorporation of the city of Gold Hill. Whereas House Bill 18, an act of incorporated the town of Gold Hill. Shouldn't that be city?
No,
Okay, town of Gold Hill.
we were incorporated as the town of Gold Hill initially.
Okay, I'm just not, that doesn't sound right to me. Anyway, I'm sorry. Okay, in the county of Jackson, state of Oregon, was passed in the Legislative Assembly of the state of Oregon and signed into law by the governor of Oregon in February 12, 1895. And whereas the city of Gold Hill has rich history of mining and a vibrant and beloved city renowned for its scenic beauty and unique leadership with the mighty Rogue River. And whereas whereas Gold Hill, driven by perseverance and community spirit, has continued to thrive through dedication, enduring strength and character of its residents, local businesses, and public servants for 130 years. And whereas the city of Gold Hill honors its heritage through annual celebrations commemorating the town's mining history and Gold Dust Days each June. And whereas the city of Gold Hill looks forward to the future filled with promise, progress, and continued community engagement. And whereas it is fitting to celebrate the anniversary of the city's founding and to honor tongue-tied here, contributions of all those who have helped shape its past, present, and future. Now, therefore, I, Ronald A. Palmer, Mayor of the city of Gold Hill, do hereby proclaim February 12th, 2025 as the 130th anniversary of the incorporation of Gold Hill. I encourage all of its festivities of our cherished Gold Dust Day on June 17th, 2025. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of this city Gold Hill to affixed this 4th day of February 2020.
I apologize. I should have fixed that to 11th day. But yes.
Okay.
So.
Congratulations.
And Mr. Mayor, I have a further announcement. We have birthday cake. Tomorrow is our 130th year. And so we have birthday cake tonight to celebrate.
I'll ask questions for you. Right? How come they have the town and then the next whereas is the city?
Because we're now the city, but when we were incorporated, we're the town.
Okay.
So I was able to get a certified copy of the original bill that the legislature passed incorporating us. And it actually happened a few days before, but it wasn't signed and enacted until the governor signed it on the 12th day of February, 1895. The bill was handwritten and it was signed by the Speaker of the House, the Senate President, the governor, and I believe the Secretary of State. Somebody affirmed it and documented it. So when we were incorporated as the town of Gold Hill. At some point, we became the city of Gold Hill. And but it is 130 years tomorrow since our city was incorporated.
That's a big deal.
And we will be getting a banner similar to the one that Can Do got, and it will be going up on our building until festivities for the year.
Very cool. We vote on these dates? Say yay or nay?
No, they're kind of like.
So-
fixed.
So that was public comment. There is a opportunity for, under council considerations, there's an item where we can talk about that further.
Knew that. That's the new.
All right, I guess we're on consent agenda. Approval of meeting minutes from 01/07/25, 2025 and 01/21/2025 council meeting.
I'll make a
Go ahead.
motion to approve the meeting minutes from 1/7/25 and 1/21/25 council meetings.
I second it.
All right. I have a motion and I have a second. Any questions? Roll call.
Counselor Beachide,
Yes.
Counselor Berggren,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Frazier,
Yes.
Counselor Stancliff.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So item 9, which is council considerations, I have A, Can Do events, usage of park fee waiver request. Counselors? Any questions on this or maybe info on this, Lily?
So, Tam presented the dates of the items, that are before you, of the dates they would like to do. And each of those items have something in correlation with a city park usage. Generally speaking, reserving a park has a reservation fee. And this, one of the things that I've yet to bring to you, but I'm still trying to gather some special event kind of checklist from some other cities, so I'm not reinventing the entire wheel. But often if it is either a nonprofit or in our situation, everything is always a nonprofit in the community, but when there's a partnership, for instance, the citywide cleanup, the city helps pay for the dumpsters. We're out doing stuff too. Gold Dust Day, the city's involved in different capacity, the 4th of July in the city park. So these are citywide events that benefit the whole city, the Yard in the Hill, and as well as far as that one raises money for the dog park, I believe is what it's been advertised and some other stuff there, but I didn't hear, Tam, did you ask specifically today if the fees could be waived for those or just the usage of them? Yeah. So as far as these ones go, these events are community-wide events. I would recommend the council authorize these 4 to have the fee waived as they're kind of a partnership with the city and in a different thing, but I also know we need to bring back a policy and come back so there's a standard so that it's fair to everybody and it's the same consistent policy and, but this is just for those events and the park reservation fee for these events. And that's up to the I don't know why we would argue the dates that they want to do it. But as far as the fee, that's a council decision.
So the way the fees we have every year, I mean, there's no point.
To make
It's
a-
our events.
No. We do need a motion.
I think you should.
We've never had before.
Yes, you have.
These are, what I'm saying is
Not,
these events
okay,
have,
not a motion to approve the dates, a motion to waive the fees.
oh, okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
I'll make a motion to waive the fees for the Can Do events for 2025 on May 10th, May 17th, June 7th, and July 4th.
Second,
Any other questions? All right, I have a motion and I have a second. Roll call.
Forgive me, I didn't catch the second. Thank you, Counselor. Roll call. Counselor Beachide,
yes.
Counselor Berggren.
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Fraser,
Yes.
Counselor Stancliff,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, so now we're at section 9 still on B. Resolution 25-R-13, Parks Committee appointment. And we're gonna find that on page 122, I guess.
I apologize. Did you guys approve the consent agenda and I totally missed it?
We actually just approved the minutes.
Yeah, we just approved the minute.
That was on.
Yeah.
That works.
Okay,
Forgive me.
all right.
Uh,
So we'll move right to section 10.
There we go. So, resolution 25-R-13 is different than what was on the agenda for last week. This is the only different. And the other two resolutions that were here, I moved to next week's meeting. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes. We have a current policy in the city that, committee members serve for 1 year. And so they have to be appointed every year. The only member that was appointed a year ago and is up for, expiration is Paige Pruitt, who is the current vice chair of the Parks Advisory Committee. She's interested in serving for another year. So this resolution would reappoint Paige for this year for 1 year. And we, of course, will probably be bringing back a recommendation that the council look at that 1 year at a time is very problematic. I will let you know that our we have 2 positions open on the Parks Advisory Committee for city residents. So if you know anybody that is looking, that is a city resident, we have 2 positions open on the Parks Advisory Committee. As Larry Holm has stepped down to take a year off, he said.
Any other questions?
Motion? I'll make a motion to pass resolution 25-R-13 and appointing a park advisory committee member.
Second it.
Questions?
Yep.
No questions. Okay, I have a motion and I have a second. Roll call.
Roll call. Counselor Berggren,
Yes.
Counselor Beachide,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Counselor Fraser,
Yes.
Counselor Stancliff,
Yes.
motion carries.
Just checking to see if we're awake.
Okay, section 10. Reports from the counselors, and I bet you're hearing from Mr. Berggren and Martin.
And Stan Cliff. What I got right here.
Well,
With us. I don't care about you.
he's talking at a day of the Capitol, but everybody has a chance to report.
Yes.
I've been waiting to do this one.
Well, good. You first.
I am a park liaison along with Rick, and on the 8th of January, we had our last meeting. You already talked about the 2 vacancies, so I won't go there, but, let everybody know that finally the testing on the powerhouse has been done.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, finally. Don't know what the results are yet, do we? But it's been done and that took forever. So that's a big deal. Also, the cleanup days that we had were a huge hit. Very proud of everybody and thankful for everybody that showed up. However, this is for everybody out in TV land. We need more volunteers. Please. And don't forget to sign your waiver before you start. Because there's going to be a lot of cleanup after the flood, a lot. So that is about all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll go. So we had the city day up at the Capitol. My first event up there, first time being in the Capitol, so it was kind of exciting. It was a great opportunity to sit there and see what's going on and how it works. Had a really good time. Look forward to doing it again, just not on our next one that we're having, but I recommend that all the counselors go to it. If you didn't go to this one, you need to go to one. They're great events. It was kind of fun to hang out with the senators and just be kind of people.
Who did you meet with?
Robinson. What I like the most is, what was his name? Starts with B. One that got up saying karaoke.
Oh, Brock Smith.
No, it wasn't him. That was
Oh, Boomer Wright.
Boomer, there we go. I had a great time talking with him. I sat with him at one of the events and talked with him there, and then afterwards just sitting there singing karaoke, and yeah, it was just fun to hang out with him. So,
Lily, who's the senator that I like? Daniel.
Daniel Bonham spoke at our event.
Bonham, yes,
He's-
Bonham, you're awesome.
Yeah, the Senate Minority Leader, yeah.
It was great.
Bonham was very, very good. So.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you.
Well, Rick, were you gonna,
Yeah, I was, same story. That first time I was up there. Pretty amazing. Got to listen to those guys speak and, what they have going on in their hands is kind of tough. Because some things are just out of their hand, but the one thing they did say that make phone calls. More phone calls we make up there, better we could be heard down here. So, it was a great time. Enjoyed the fellowship with the brothers and the sisters and a good time. Thank you.
I just had a great time with staff and council members and committee members. We just all had a great time. Learned a lot. I recommend everybody go into these events. When Lily says put in a scholarship, just get online and do it. You'll probably get that scholarship. A wealth of knowledge, the networking that other people that you meet to start your networking. If you plan on staying in this as a volunteer, helps out a lot. In fact, we ran into Adam while we were up there with his city manager or city councilor.
Mayor.
Mayor, oh, the mayor. And that was fascinating. So anyway, you just run into people all the time. And in fact, the one that used to run, was it So Ready? No, she's now mayor of Central Point.
League of Oregon Cities.
Yes, she was the director of the League of Oregon Cities. Now the mayor finally, after 22 years in Central Point, stepped down, retired. She became mayor and she's just, yes, thank you. For me. So anyway, she's just, loaded with energy. So, but she's a really neat lady. So anyway, that's all I have. Lily, do you have any more to input? Oh, by the way, when you go with Lily, especially up at the Capitol, keep her away from the Capitol.
Yes.
It's, or just have an Uber standing by so you can go.
Oh, I know.
Just saying.
She knows everybody.
I know. Well, they know her. It's like, you want some hand sanitizer?
Well, I will say of the trip, for my portion, ahead of time, I had reached out to Senator Robinson's office and Representative Scarlatta's office. And both set up appointments with us that we were all able to meet with them. And we had a good exchange. The council members and the mayor did a good job of kind of explaining where we are as Gold Hill and the things that we're facing. And both were very responsive and both were very welcoming and have followed up with communication since we've been back. And so I was impressed with that. And both have been invited to come down to Gold Hill and visit. And kind of just see what our projects are, what things are at. So we look forward to hosting them later. So
Any other comments? All right, so we're gonna look at 11 here. That's department reports.
it's listed this way because our council rules that were adopted in 2012 actually say department reports. So once upon a time, I guess, the different departments gave reports. We don't really have different departments. We kind of have field and office right now, but so what I would report is first and foremost, longtime city employee, Tony Wilson is officially retired as of February 3rd. So we thank him for his service to the city and wish him well in his retirement. And I will be looking at updating the job descriptions for our field services, and we will be going out for hiring for the positions. And we have internal candidates that are very qualified and looking forward to seeing where we go from there. Let's see, I will report that this month's utility billing had a glitch in a big way. We did our bills normal. And the online bills, for whatever reason, the third party that sends them out, Invoice Cloud, that is who you can also pay online. They say they see the PDFs we sent, but they didn't receive them and can't upload them, and it makes no sense. So there's some glitches going on. If you go online right now and you try to look at past month's bills, it shows a zero balance and it puts every previous bill into the current bills thing. So we are working on trying to figure out that, but I will tell you that we have been implementing being intentional that of holding people accountable for paying the bills. It's hard to do that in our economy right now. At the same time, today we posted flyers on homes in the community of anyone that had a balance over 60 days old. And there was over 120 homes that we had to post.
Oh my.
The
That's like a
total,
fourth of the residents.
the total of the bills equaled over $30,000 in unpaid utility bills. The city staff has allowed the bills to get to this point, and we have been with folks that hadn't paid. Previous to this, we had started with people who hadn't made a payment in over 60 days. And our software doesn't really let us do that except by going through and hand doing it. So the report is now if there's a balance over 60 days old. And that's what went out today. So it kind of changed the format. And we're inviting folks to get on a payment plan if that will help, trying to avoid shutoffs and all that kind of stuff. But $30,000 unpaid is one of the reasons why we can't figure out how to get everything done. And so we're trying to deal with everything. So it did not help that the same month that we're doing this, unbeknownst to us, because we didn't do anything different than we have, where we post our bills and they get sent electronically, that process was done all the same. And for whatever reason, they didn't post them. So like if I go online to look up your bill, it says the PDF isn't available right now. So we're working to get that adjusted. So we've been reprinting bills. We've been doing different stuff for folks just to try to help get that out there. But it's also the month that it's not fun to have glitches in the system, especially when we're trying to do right by what we're supposed to be doing, which is having the bills paid for. Anyhow, so hopefully by tomorrow, we will be able to find out what exactly happened. So far, they haven't got back to us to find out why it happened, so it could be avoided in the future. We are still trying to find the right answer if we bring the billing back in-house for us to spend the day folding and stuffing envelopes. I will tell you that if we switch to postcards, it'd be a lot cheaper for us to mail them and we can get them out the door a lot quicker. Right now, over 230 of our 570 accounts are paperless. Not auto pay, but paperless. And that's a significant number. It's almost 50%. But not quite 50%. But so already that many are not. And then so many more people come in and then pay at the counter and aren't using the return envelopes. But I don't want to make it harder for people trying to pay the bills. So we are looking at what the cost would be to bring the printing south. If we had to just buy our own envelopes and do it in-house versus having a printer locally do it. But we believe we can do better. Our goal is the best customer service we possibly can have and being helpful for folks. And right now, I'm not pleased with the third parties as they are that we've been using. And so working on those solutions, but not going to do some quick switch until we can figure out what's going to still meet people's needs. And so we're trying to audit how many envelopes actually come back from people's bills, you know, how many people are using those versus just coming in and paying. And, you know, if the expense is not high, then we're obligated to make sure that our rates cover operations. And if they don't, then something has to change. So either we have to cut the cost of our operations or we have to raise rates. So I'm trying to look right now at what we can cut to lower operational costs. And if that means sending out a postcard for the bill and people have to use their own envelope or come in person or pay online, then maybe that saves us money and it's not costing us as much in operations, if that makes sense.
A lot of sense. Huh?
So I got a question. On that billing, you say that there's an envelope in there. Do we send out an envelope with an envelope in it and a statement
Mhm.
and the flyer?
Mm-hmm.
But
So this
only-
month, I did
only-
not send a newsletter this month. So originally when it started, the idea of sending the newsletter, I talked to the person that's helps with it and is part of it. You know, her idea was the back of the bill is blank. Why not put some newsletter stuff on the back of the bill? It really isn't possible to do that at the third party we're currently using. So they print a second piece of paper. And so we're paying for the double. Potentially the printer in Medford would, but so far all the quotes we've gotten are double what we're paying with this third party. But what could cut it drastically is postcards. And I know that when RVSS went to postcards, people weren't happy because they come in and demand we give them an envelope so they can pay RVSS. And you know, so people aren't happy about that. Some people still pay in cash and they put it, you know, it's, some people are fine, some people aren't. So, you know, what I want to make sure is that we don't make it so hard that someone can't pay their bill. But at the same time, how do we cut costs so that it's not just about, these are the things that are weighing in the balance. But this month there was a glitch with the online and we're trying to figure out why. Because so far, I mean, it was our whole day dealing with this. And the software people and the third party all wanted to point at somebody else and it wasn't their own fault. And we're like, we don't, at this point, we don't care, fix it. And how do we prevent it next month is basically where we're coming from. So put in, just as far as some grants, I did put in a capital construction request through the legislature. I got confirmation from Senator Robinson that he did submit it and Representative Owens on their side. So hopefully, I don't know if we'll get it or not, but we requested. I put in for a CIS, put a notification out for a grant for wildfire. I put in a request to redo the roof and the siding of the generator shed at the water treatment plant so that it's fire resilient. We're working on the things that we need to do to keep the transportation grant going. We have the portion signed for the CDBG grant. So hopefully we're gonna have a planning meeting March 12th on what to do with that, to go into the design for the reservoir, the Fourth Street water line replacement. And we're still waiting for cost to come back on the control upgrade at the water plant. We're waiting on the bids for that. And I'll be bringing that to you to sign because I can tell you it's over my limit. So we're waiting for those bids to come back. The transportation, there's a couple ones that we're a part of right now and just kind of figuring out those next steps. So we will be putting in an application for small city allotment grant as well. Unfortunately, the work that I did last year for the last application round, instead of resubmitting that, going to a different street, because we have two different development projects on that street that have asked us not to pave it because they'll destroy it with the development. And so with all the trucks coming in and out to develop multiple homes, is not a good time to put brand new asphalt in and then have heavy trucks on. So I'm not disregarding the work that's done. We're just gonna pause and try to get it after and see. So we're gonna focus on a different street of need. But we're trying to keep up on those and focusing on all the grants. The Oregon Parks is our parks master plan was updated in 2015. The things that we got back from community was more parking, more playgrounds, spray pad, were requests that the public and Hanby did. So, you know, I was talking to Fred today about what we could do about when you come into the park and you turn right, like you're gonna go towards the parking lot. That area on the right, people park there sometimes. And so we're looking at what we can do to smooth that out and maybe put some gravel in right there so we can have some extra overflow parking where that is already. But there's some rocks and some some things there. So just trying to make sure that it's a little safe there. But we're also working on getting the sign back, and I'm going to put it under the tree at the entrance so that you can see it where the entrance is. But I planed it in my friend's cabinet shop and cut it down so all the boards are the same size, so it's not as a kind of a pyramid shape anymore. But I just need to cover it, and I need to paint the letters and then seal it, and it'll be ready to be put up. So that's what I've been doing on my weekends
You're doing it?
so far.
Wow. Well, thank you.
What about the sign on the entrance to town on Second Avenue?
So somebody hit the sign, the post broke off, and we bought posts to replace it, to put it up. If anything's on a state highway, it requires we have to either drill holes in it or get a breakaway post, because if they break away easier, it's less likely to hurt somebody in a crash. But they're faded pretty bad. So my thought was, let's get them painted before we put them back up. But at this point, I just want to put them back up because they're not getting painted. And so it'll get on the list. It's in our shop, so it's not getting hurt. And the holes are dug for the post. We just have to get it mounted. So I'm trying to, I did get a scholarship to attend the Oregon Governors Finance Officers Association. I've been told since early on in dealing with the auditors that that's really the conference to go to learn more about budget and the process of finance and everything. And so they're covering my travel, my lodging, and the conference cost, as it's a first time that I'd be attending, but it is the first week of March. And so because of that, I have sent out an email asking if we could have our city council meeting in March, the first meeting, be the 11th instead of the 4th. I've only heard back from 2 of you to say that. I think emails, I've heard from 3 of you that said it was okay. But a couple of you I haven't heard, but I just want to make sure that we're okay to do March 11th, which is the second Tuesday in March for the meeting. And I need feedback from the council. So since is anybody objecting to March 11th for the meeting, the second Tuesday? Okay. I have an agenda that I've been working on for next Tuesday, which would have been the third week in February. So we're moving ahead with having the second council meeting of the month next week. So just as a heads up, that gets us back on the normal schedule, but then in March we'll be to the second week. So, my question would be, do you guys want to meet the 11th and 18th? So 2 weeks in a row in March as well? Okay, I'm getting one yes versus the 11th and 15th, or 11th and 25th. Cause then we'd be back to back the 25th and the 1st going into April. So, I'm not available in 2 weeks, so that's why we're doing the 18th. So then the other thing is, we everybody's did not respond to the dates for a goal setting for February. So those dates came and went. And, so I put out an email asking for responses for March. And I've received 2 responses. One said the 15th works for them. Since that's the first person to designate a specific date, I'm going with that. And so if we are looking at March 15th, is everybody able to do that? Or do we need to keep going back to the drawing board? So the first person that responded said all the dates worked for her. So, and the second person, also a her, tell you who hasn't responded, guys. Not to throw you under the bus, but since the 15th works for the second person, that's why I was aiming for that. If you guys could please look at your calendars and just verify that the 15th works.
Works for me.
Okay? March. For our kind of goal setting right before, so as soon as we are close to having the finance stuff completed, and so the auditors will be coming and we're going right into getting the budget documents prepared. At the meeting next week, there'll be a resolution that you guys declare your budget officer for this season. I volunteer. Unless Sandy, do you want it? Okay. Since you're on our budget committee, I figured it. So, we're getting ready to do the budget, but one of the things that I found is our finance software and our expenses haven't correlated to our budget. We're fixing that. That the actual codes in the system, our chart of accounts, are going to correlate to the actual budget. And so we'll be able to put in the budget what was budgeted and how much we've spent toward each line item. So we know if we're going over or under on what was budgeted. This is going to be so exciting to actually be able to prepare those. Oh, it's going to be longer.
Longer.
Did you know, though, that back in the 90s, we got awards for our finances? I found awards back in the closets from our finances, used to be in order. There's no reason why they can't be again. No.
1990. That's funny.
That was funny. Anyhow, so, and a couple other announcements. Due to some problems during business hours, I have closed our restrooms to public use during business hours. The only time our restrooms will be available to the public is when we're in a public meeting like this. Otherwise, the restrooms are now going to be not for public use. Unfortunately, individuals have not been able to respect the restrooms, and so we need to do that. There are places in the community that have public restrooms, including our parks. And so I want you to know that I made that decision over this facility and the protection of the staff at this time. And we are also, even though we're only open 8 to 4 Monday through Thursday, we are going to be doing Fridays by appointment only. And so right now it's nothing on Fridays. We're working, but it's different based on we're flexing out time because we're not doing overtime. So people leave early based on, like tonight, we're here late. So folks flex out early on Fridays. So, but we want to be available as much as we can. So we'll be changing the door to say Friday's appointment only. So that it's a little bit more. So based on the week, people may be here longer than others, just depending on what that is. So, I want to remind you all that, in March as well, the League of Oregon Cities has their small cities meeting I want to say it's on March 13th.
That's a busy 7 days in March.
Oh,
Yeah,
let me
that's the
tell
11th,
you.
13th and
So, we're hosting.
Yeah, we are hosting them.
So every city from, it's like up by like Yachats or something like that, up on I-5, all the way to Ashland are part of the same League of Oregon Cities region.
Mhm.
And so 4 times a year, the small cities in our region get together for a meeting, quarterly meeting. The last quarterly meeting in December was in Cave Junction, mainly because they were honoring retiring Mayor Meadow Martell. But I volunteered us for March, so we're hosting the small cities League of Oregon Cities in March. So those of you that haven't been able to travel for that meeting, want to put that on your radar. I'll make sure that, please let me know if you want to attend because I have to register you. And I'm going to be, we do provide lunch.
Yes.
So that it's 11 to 1. So I just want to, it's not a open to the public meeting. It's, but it is one that we're going to be hosting the small cities. So
What
We
date?
want to start hosting.
what's that?
What date?
13th.
I believe it's the 13th and I will, okay. I don't have it on my calendar though, so I will be fixing that.
What time does the goal setting start?
We haven't said it yet. What works for you guys?
For what? The goal setting?
That's a work day. So I'd like to get out of here. as soon as I can.
So is it fair to say 9 AM start or is that too late?
Saturday?
No.
Okay,
On a Saturday?
But
Let's start
Nine's
there.
fine.
what?
On a Saturday, nine's fine.
I mean, Saturdays are not usually a get out of the day and go out quick, but I'm still awake early, but if you, what time would you guys like to start?
how long is it gonna last, you think?
I don't know. My envisioning of this is that we're open to the public can come observe, but it's the council doing the work. And not like,
Last couple hours.
it should be a couple hours, but I think that we build on what we had last time. I'll pass out what the results of last time was. But really, the strategic planning that we saw was kind of this long-term visioning. There wasn't a lot of current stuff, but going into budget, we kind of need to talk about some stuff. And so I think the council is setting some goals on where we're going on the upfront, the near future and the far future, kind of looking at that. What do we want to see right now as our top goals in this year for this area, for this area, for this area? And let's work through it and get it going, and that'll drive some stuff. I mean, I know what my goals are is to get our policies updated, our code updated, our finances in order and as many grants as we can, but that doesn't do me any good if I'm not following you guys' directions. So I really need the council to set the goal and the policies.
9 to 1.
I hope so. I hope so. We'll grab you lunch.
delivers, yeah.
Yeah, we'll grab you lunch if, I mean, I-
For the League of.
no, this is
Goals.
for our goals.
Oh, goal setting. Okay.
Mhm. Okay,
Anybody have anything else? Okay, so I have for the good of the order. And under that is a council liaison assignment for Can Do. You're stepping down?
No?
we're making it.
Okay. So we are gonna make it official.
Okay.
You want a motion on that? Yes. I hereby appoint Malia Beach Hive as the liaison for the Can Do.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
Cake?
Cake,
Don't
forget the
cake. Birthday cake.
yeah.